Alright, hi everybody. It's another session of the Skoolof5d, which is actually located above Roberts Creek on the Sunshine Coast in what is known as BC, Canada. Of course, we're all very awake to many things that we once were not. Subtitle for these talks and these learning sessions are also the Great Awakening. Now, what's really interesting about the Great Awakening is that term just popped into my mind, and I said it, and then I used it on the video, and then a lot of people are queuing into Q. You may not be doing that yet, but if you are, then you know that the board that he uses on 8chan, which is like a really cool thing to say, is 8chan. Anyways, is called the Great Awakening. And I want to talk about quite a few different things today. That's going to be quite different. So we seem to have a puppy that wishes to visit from upstairs, so I better open the door and let him do that. No, I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, I am. All right. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to touch on like a few different topics. For one thing, I just got this. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. My two main topics for this learning session are meditation and how to start a revolution, and also how to not be so close to the mic that the sound is garbled. So I'm going to get like way back here, even though I feel this is weird. Okay, so meditation. I am a Tibetan Buddhist. I was trained by a lama by the name of Lama Kunzang, who is European born actually, and was in monk's robes in India for 15 years. Then he went to California and started something called the Dharma Fellowship, and then he moved up to Canada, up to Denman Island. And you can find my lama at the Dharma Fellowship giving retreats and teachings, mostly in the spring and summer, and I do suggest that you check it out. That's where I learned a lot of stuff, and that's where I learned what I'm about to show you right now. So I'm just going to do the dog in, dog out thing. I know how much you enjoy that. Alright, you guys, I'm trying to do something. I don't know if I'm doing it, but good thing I don't know how to edit videos, because then it wouldn't be all this really cool, weird excitement that's not very exciting. Is that really actually bad? My lighting just died. I think that's good. No, it's not. Okay, so anyways, I think I mentioned in another video that I was taught the 7-point Vairocana, the 7-point Vairocana system of meditation. This is really great. And you can look that up. You spell it Vairocana. And this is an ancient system of meditation which has been used for about 700 years. So I'm going to start with the lower part of my body, which you're not going to be able to see, but that's cool. And I have my legs in the regular tailor position, and if that's what's comfortable for you, fine. The next thing that you can do is the half lotus, and I think I'm just going to take the camera and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so can you see that? I don't know if you can. This is really an excellent video, I'd say. You can't really see what I'm doing. Doesn't matter. Okay, because like you all know what a half lotus is. So that is when I have one of my legs, in the tailor position, your legs crossed, and then you would take one leg, either your left leg or your right leg. Now he's putting the traditional pose. Hey, say good job. You have a female in a male position, depending on what leg you put over, but don't worry about that, okay? Because that is up to how you feel comfortable, I believe, and that is the only modification that I make to this traditional system, and that would be that I ask you to make the choice between the male or the female position, because I do believe that the genders are being dissolved a little bit, and there's as they say, much fluidity there. The dogs are just going to be dogs. There's going to be like the little puppy apocalypse going on here, or not. Okay, so here guys, outside. Wow, that was crazy. I'm actually trying to teach the dogs not to behave that way, because we do have a whole new consciousness that is coming to earth that was on the earth. And so I want, in relation to that, it has to do with us not eating meat, and I do eat meat, by the way, not all the time, but I do. It has to do with us not eating meat, though, and that once upon a time we did not. And I will refer to the Bible, not for any particular reason, but just because, maybe because it's this is like the, right? I think this is the better lighting, isn't it? Well, I think it's not the better lighting. I think that that it's kind of fun to watch someone scramble around like an idiot. That could be part of it. So the meditation, I have no idea what I was saying. So the meditation is really important, because the meditation, as I said in past videos, is like an interdimensional train station. There is something in Buddhism that we call emptiness, and of course it's not really empty. It is, though, it's more like it's everything and nothing, and that is the best way I can describe that space. Now, that is the problem with interdimensional experiences and experiences that you might have when you're in a state of meditation. Most descriptions are truly inadequate. So it is something you have to experience, and that's why I really do want to teach you how to meditate. A lot of people say meditation is like when I'm doing dishes, it's meditative, or they say, oh, this is a running meditation, or this is a, no, that's something, okay? But meditation definitely, by definition, involves stillness. Stillness is very important, because time and space require movement. Time requires movement. And one of the other things that we experience when we do meditation is timelessness. It's a state of timelessness. And I believe that there are several things that contribute to the fact that laughter is super healing, and it actually combats the archons and the other things that are bad, that want us to suck our loosh and our fear. So never fear a light that won't stay plugged in. Okay. Anyways, so the meditation, super important stuff. So the bottom half of your body is going to be in the half lotus. Oh, I just need to let my dog in. Stop it. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Dad. Come on. Come on, Joe. Come on. Come on. document, and that could be bad. Okay, I think that if you're going to wait that long, it's important that you...
Hi, my name's Taffy Bear. I'm a puppy. I'm always meditating because I'm in my natural state. Woo!
Okay, he's not always meditating, but he is always in his natural state. And that's what makes him Lord of the Zen. Because he really is. He's Lord of the Zen. Look. Okay, now, a puppy that stays still that long. Lord of the Zen. Anyways, so, the half lotus is when, you take one of your legs and you place it really over top of the other one completely. Now, to complete into the full lotus, you would then pull the leg that's underneath over top of that. And why do we do that? We do that because we want to actually cut off the energy in the lower part of our body, because we want to stop that energy from flowing. Because when you're in a state of meditation, you want the energy that you're working with to just be the energy of your chakra system as it is in placement with your spine. So you're going to be, before you meditate, it's a really good idea if you have a lot of different visualizations in place, okay? So before I go through the rest of the meditation posture, I'm just going to give you some of the visualizations that you would have in place. So you would have your root chakra, of course, which is, you can visualize that as being located between your anus and your fun hole, if you're a woman. And, like your anus and your danglies, if you're a man. And that spot in between there, by the way, is it's called your perineum. And just like the top of your head, which I instructed you to find the soft spot at the top of your head, the last place for your skull to close. It's open when you're born, and it's like actually pulsates. And I instructed you to find it and to like split your skull like this and do it like this. Make your skull soft and then pump that gently, because what will happen is it will begin to release the elixir of life and the amrita and the soma, or whatever you want to call it, because that actually has to make its way all the way down your spine, and then it has to come all the way back up. That's the ascension process physiologically. Okay, so these chakras are in your body, and what you're visualizing here is you're visualizing a wheel that is spinning, and then it kind of goes in and it goes out, and it can spin in either direction, and each one of course has a color associated with it. But the important part of the action is that you're actually trying to activate it out of existence, in the sense that you're trying to activate it so that it moves up to the next one and joins it, and then that to move up to the next one and join. And this is a process. That's actually the process of transference of consciousness. So I'm a little off topic, but you want to, as you're going into meditation, you want to start to visualize your chakras, and you also want to visualize two crystalline tubes that are coming from the end of your nostrils and curving down. And these two tubes, one is red and one is white. One represents the male energy and one represents the female energy. And you're going to breathe into those crystal tubes, and you're going to think about uniting that. Of course, in a deep state of meditation, you're not thinking about anything, but these are thoughts and images and visualizations that you can have in your mind before you go into meditation. And this just allows you to begin to accept that you have a non-physical body, and it is your non-physical body that you're going to be working with, which is why I've said to let this puppy in.
Come on, Puppy.
Okay, but you have to come with me because he tends to make it all crazy, so he's going to have to be here. He's not quite as zen as the zen puppy that you saw before. Anyway, so yeah, the idea of meditation is to not be thinking is to be in stillness. I'm not exactly sure where I was before I got the puppy. I was trying to explain that is why I say you can't be in a state of meditation when you're doing the dishes, or you can't have all these different kinds of meditations people make up. Well, yeah, that's nice, but if you're moving, then you're not, and it doesn't matter, because there are walking meditations. Even my lama does this walking meditation thing, which is really more mindfulness. It's more an awareness thing. I'm just going to let the puppies act like puppies. So, before you go into meditation, you have to really cue into the idea that you have an astral body and etheric body and a whole bunch of other cool, like, auric fields and stuff like that make up who you are. So now, once your lower body is in the either the half lotus or the full lotus, and yeah, I can do the full lotus, but I just, as long as the energy is cut off, because you just want, when you breathe, you want the energy to go down to that sweet spot, or that $1 million spot. That's what the Chinese call it in some of the Taoist teachings. Right, so like the soft spot at the top of your head, well, your perineum, it's the same thing. If you take your finger and you find your perineum, which, as I said, is in between your right, and your other, right? And then you can actually press on that gently, and you will find that you can kind of pump that, and it will also release, it will assist your physiological ascension process. And I'm just going to have to take my word for that. These are teachings that come from many different sources that I'm giving you when I talk to you. And let me just say that I spent the first few years of my time on the Hermitage, doing a lot of reading and a lot of studying of ancient texts and Buddhist parts of the Buddhist canon, including tantric texts, translated ones, not a Westerner's interpretation of a paragraph made into a book. So now that your legs are crossed, and part of what I was saying about the soft spot here and the soft spot there is another thing that you will learn if you come and learn from me in person. I also teach an introduction to Kung Fu and Qigong. And, in that tradition, you are taught that the body is split in half, and that the upper part of the body, the lower part of the body mirrors the upper part of the body. Okay? And so that's part of that fractal that we are. So next, in this 7-point Vairocana meditation position that you're going to want to pay attention to, you're going to work your way up, is your spine. So you do want to straighten out your spine. The end feeling that you're going to have is really, the end feeling you're going to have is kind of like your spine is floating in a kind of a cup, and it's floating, and you're kind of like that on a sort of the pinpoint of the base of your spine will be the end result of practice. This is a pretty calm atmosphere, isn't it? So, peace in the valley. Ha-cha-cha! I'm just making that up, right? Okay, up, me, ha-ha. Whoa, what am I saying? I was just channeling the Pleiadians. Okay, look, watch. Okay, zen it down, baby. Zen it down. I think I'm going to have to get my friend to take care of his puppy. So, otherwise it's going to be really silly. Hey, David! Like, I can't actually take care of your puppy. Mine will go to sleep. So, enjoy this time to think about everything that I've said. Alright, so you had that moment to let everything sink in. Alright, so now your spine, when you do straighten out your spine, do you remember that there is a slight curve to your spine at the base and there is a slight curve to your spine at the top? And of course, part of straightening up your spine is pushing your shoulders back and squaring them off. You want a very symmetrical feel to your body. You want to think of your body as sacred geometry when you are putting yourself in meditation position. Yes, it is a very specific position, and and there are very specific reasons for that. Some of which I'm going to tell you about, and some of which you can find out by taking some time to study meditation. Because meditation is not just relaxing. It's not just being calm. It's much, 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 much more than that. So let's say right now I'm actually just sitting in tailored position because I'm in a chair, and I prefer a flat surface. I do not prefer the Zafu cushion, although I suppose you could use that. I think that you should practice and practice until you can do the full lotus on a flat surface. So then your spine is straight, now your shoulders are back, and now we're going to look at our arm and hand position. So it is a good idea to stretch out, and usually I do stretch my hands out to the front before I take one palm and the other palm, and then place one on top of the other until we have this, one palm on top of the other. And then I'm going to be making a pretty much perfectly perfect little rectangle in here with my hands. Once I'm in a perfect position, let's see, that's actually a perfect position. Okay, there. And you can see that it makes a very symmetrical shape. The thing about my thumbs, though, is my thumbs are going to be almost touching, okay? Kind of touching in a slight way so that you can feel the buzz. Because you are activating your light body when you do this, and your light body is electric, okay? So if you are doing this right, and you set up your body in the proper grid here, you're going to actually feel a buzz, okay, between your things. And then you're going to take this little system that you've got here, just like this, and turn it around, and then you're going to place that over your belly button, sort of with your palms kind of right under your belly button, because you are going to focus on the energy that we talked about in other videos. That's your entrance point. That's your home of creation. That is how you came in. That is the place that you began to become when you came from the astral. It is known as the Tantine, and it is definitely a very powerful area of your body. It's where your blood exchanges. It exchanges at your heart and also there, as we've talked about in other videos. So once you have that, and then your arms are going to sort of hang off of your shoulders, and you're going to be completely relaxed in that. Your elbows, I find that my elbows hit in alignment of energy and are held up themselves. Other meditators seem to sort of place their arms in their lap, but I find that if I keep myself very geometric and symmetrical, then I can hit a line of energy which sort of holds my arms up. Then I'm going to be sitting up. My chin is going to be a little bit tucked in to accommodate the fact that my neck is also slightly bent, and your head's going to be slightly bent, and it's very difficult to tell you about this position. It is something that you really feel out, and you feel it out until you feel that it is the perfect position. I said I was Tibetan Buddhist. There are 4 branches of Tibetan Buddhism, and we are the Karma Chodzin-I. Dalai Lama is Gelyug. There is also Sakya and Nyingma. We are the Karma Chodzin-I. We're the ones that, I'm not going to get into who we are. Doesn't matter. Besides, I'm not them. I'm me. Of course, we are one. So that means, we're all something. That's right? That's a wise thing right there. So anyways, and then your eyes are not closed. And the reason that your eyes are not closed is because you're actually trying to have a clear mind, free of thought, but also not a fuzzy or spaced out mind, if that makes any sense. When I first started to clear my mind, as I have said in other videos, I just used the mantra, no mind, no mind, no thing, nothing, no mind, nothing, nothing, no thing. And of course, the reason that we say mantra, there are many reasons why we use the mantra, but one of the reasons is just to clear our minds of thoughts, and so that it's just the mantra holds the space for all these other thoughts of the, the wild, untamed horse of the brain, or how the different ways that it's described. Now, so my eyes are going to be down, my eyes are going to be open, but I'm going to be looking down on the floor about 1 arm's length in front of me. And then the most important, very important, is the breathing and the position of the tongue. So your first of all, your teeth will not be touching. This will cut off the electric circuit that you're trying to create. So you're going to take the very tip of your tongue and put everything. That's not funny. You're going to put it, you're going to place it very lightly on that other thing. That little nubby thing. But, that nubby thing, right? It's at the roof of your mouth, at the very front. And again, just like your thumbs, you're going to just put the tip of your tongue, and you're going to just let your tongue, and that nubby thing kind of buzz, okay? Because you are firing up your light body. You're plugging yourself into another dimension, but no, actually, you're getting your interdimensional train station ticket. This is how you get it. Now, when you breathe, you always breathe in through your nose. That's it. Just through your nose. And you're going to breathe in deeply, and you're going to do what is called vase breath. You're going to breathe in deeply, and you're going to breathe down into those 2 crystal tubes. And those 2 crystal tubes are going to go all the way down to your belly, and then you're going to expand your belly, like the bottom of a vase. You know how your tubes are the top of the vase in your belly, and so that looks like this. And the in-breath should be long and slow, and not really, long and slow. You need to practice a long, slow, even, calm, peaceful breath. I see people doing, or I go to things and they say, take a deep breath and breathe out. I don't even think that's breathing. You should be my in-breaths and out-breaths can, take up to a minute in or out and longer. And yes, I practiced to work myself up to that, but didn't really take much, okay? When you take a long, slow, even in-breath that is gentle, and you slowly expand your belly, and you just be, everyone says, be with the breath, be with the breath, be the breath, be the breath. And you be that breath, and you're like, hey, I am air having a physical effect on this belly, and I'm pushing it, and you push it out, and then you don't force anything. But when you get to your limit, then you gently begin to release that breath, but you release that breath at the exact same slow speed that you took it in. And if you take in several of those long, deep, slow, even breaths, where you have released your identity, released your ego's identifications, you have cleared your mind, and now you are just the long, slow breath, you will have accomplished something in terms of meditation. So but that's it. That's it. So you put your body into the proper sacred geometry. You become completely still. And what needs to happen, as I said, is that your spine needs to be floating, okay, in space. You should not have the feeling that you're holding up your body. Your spine becomes this rotating pivot point, so that really the only weight that you feel is kind of like a point, and you're magnetized onto that point. You should be able to sit in stillness and be the breath for a long, long time effortlessly. The same with your arms. As I said, if you set the geometry up correctly, you will hit energy lines that will actually hold your body up, and that goes for your head too. So you might, when I'm I'll be adjusting my head, kind of trying to find the sticky point, and it's like I adjust my head, and it's almost like my head sticks there. And these are some of the benefits and some of the accomplishments of meditation that I don't think you hear about very much. Now, when you reach the train station, how you know you're there is because there are several different signs. And the interesting thing about this, for those of you that do magic mushrooms or do acid or whatever, and I believe that those things were gifts that we were given so that we could have access to the end result of meditation, so that we could know that, but we don't need those because you can access them this way. And sometimes when you are doing that, those things, you're accessing other dimensions, you will feel timelessness, you will feel weightless, you will feel that you can feel all the way around your body and behind you. You have that sort of surround sound feeling, I guess you could say. And you also, your name and your identity becomes something you can't even remember. And also another thing you might experience is a very blackness, like a velvety black, a deep, deep blackness. And when you get to that place, you start to experience some of these things. Other things that can happen, I'm sure many of you have experienced other things that are signs. We call them signs. Signs. You need signs to know that you're doing this. This isn't about, as I said, meditation isn't to make you feel more relaxed, so that you feel more rested. It's not what it's for. Once you get to the interdimensional train station, on the other signs, your third eye might pulse. Sometimes my secret chakra here pulses. Different physical things will happen to you as your ignited light body starts to ignite your physical body. And you will, I'm 55, you will find that in being in a state of timelessness benefits you physically in many, many different ways. So now that you're in the darkness, you might see a glowing bird. You might find yourself... I'm going to actually only give you examples from my own meditation experiences. The glowing bird was in a sweat lodge when I decided to meditate in a sweat lodge. I decided to get out of the traditional legs at the side position. I went into full lotus and put my hands in my lap, and I actually took an in-breath of the really hot air. And it burned at first, but then it didn't, because I went into a state of meditation. And when you're in a state of meditation, your physical body is not part of the game anymore. So stillness is incredibly important. And you can practice stillness when you're not meditating by, just sitting in your posture and trying to stay still as much as you can. Another way to practice stillness is to take in the big, long, slow, deep breath and then hold it for a few counts while you're comfortable. And then again, don't out the breath. Slowly release it. And at the same rate that you took it in. And then keep extending the what we call stopping time, which is the breath, in between the in and out breath, and extend that. And this will give you examples of stillness that once you get into a deep state of meditation, as they say, you might stop breathing. Someone might come along and find you. If they did, they might get alarmed because you might not be breathing anymore, because your light body and everything else is taken over, providing your physiological body with what it needs. And once upon a time this sounded impossible, but these days people are starting to understand that my only one teaching that I have, everything I say to you originates from other sources and other teachers and other ancient cultures. And my teaching is 50-50. And that means whatever you're doing, you pay 50% of physical attention and 50% non-physical attention to it, and you will get it done better. So, yeah, that's it. That's my teaching. It's that simple. Now, so what would you experience? So, a God, right? God is good, with one less O. So, once in meditation, I went out into outer space, and when I got out into outer space, I looked down and I could see the earth, and then my consciousness started to expand. And it just kept expanding until I had this weird sense of the Alpha and the Omega, the eternity, that has no beginning, has no end. I had this crazy sense, this thing, and I was like, whoa. And then my next sensation was all knowledge of everything is knowing not to do anything. And then I looked down at the earth, and this God consciousness that I was having was also kind of, sometimes when you do this, you have your own consciousness, which kind of bursts in sometimes. So my own consciousness burst in, and I wanted to see what was going on the earth. So when the God consciousness, I looked down, and then at any point that I looked at on the earth, I could go right down in there and I could see it. And I looked all over the earth, and the first things that I saw a lot of suffering, and I saw a lot of very terrible things that are going on our planet. And then I saw all the good things, and then I realized that they were all in balance, and that if everything wasn't in balance, that the creation would not function. And so in another, once in this deep state of meditation, sometimes you won't have a visual experience. You won't have anything. You'll just go into that state, and then when you come out, you'll just feel a little disorientated, and you will really feel like you've come back from somewhere, kind of like when you wake up. Because of course the dreaming state is another dimension, and then you will be left just like when you have a dream, but you can't quite remember. You'll be left with impressions. You'll be left with faint, vague memories, or a word or two. And when this happens to me, I usually take that word and I do some research, and then I find a huge body of information that totally relates to my journey, and that is really important information I really wanted, and it's very helpful. So meditation really is accessing information. Now I want to talk about the dimensions now. We have the first dimension, which is eternal God space. We have the second dimension, which is the flat plane of where all the blueprints are, or what is also called the Akashic records. And yes, from this third dimension, through meditation, you can access 2D. You can access all that there is to know. So I'm just going to leave you with that. What are we at here? Oh my God, 42 minutes. There's no way you're watching the whole thing. Anyway, there's only 11 of you. And not only, you are 11 really important people who now know how to actually meditate. So I think that's pretty fucking good. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not perfect. Please do practice radical self-acceptance, and realize that this journey that you're on isn't anybody else's. This is between you and all that is. This is not between you and anyone else. And this meditation journey, this method of accessing, I would say, everything, okay, it's a huge gift. It's a huge gift. Please ask me any questions, and I can't really teach you how to meditate on this machine. The best thing for you to do is come and visit me at Peace Camp on Mount Elphinstone on the Sunshine Coast in what's known as BC, Canada. And the School of 5D will be open in May. We are having a teachers, organizers, and volunteer students meeting on April 1st, 2018. If you would like to come, please do. All right. Namaste. Nama go.